What's up, fellas? So today we're looking at a technical breakdown of jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu in the UFC, starring champ Ilia Topuria versus one of the greatest to ever do it, Charles Oliveira. First things first, key grappling concepts. Same as before, problem versus solution. And what this will usually look like in grappling scenarios is that one fighter will create a problem that the second fighter must address. Now, once second fighter addresses the problem, it will then be up to him to go back into mounting his own offense. Basically, if you're not mounting offense, you're getting cooked. So you got to go back into mounting your own offense. So in the beginning of the fight here, we're going to see Ilia probing Charles with this jab. Now when Ilia actually fires a jab, we're going to see Charles use this as his entry. Once he gets in, he actually gets in pretty good. He makes connection on both of Ilia's legs. We see his head position is actually connected to Ilia's hip. But if we pay attention to his hips here, his hips are pretty far out from the position of his head. And this is going to make it really difficult for Charles to finish, even though he had a good entry. Now, what Ilia is going to do here to defend is he's going to start sprawling down his hips, especially his left hip. And he's also going to look to cross-face Charles with his left hand. And what this is going to allow him to do is essentially bring Charles up and get that head off of his hips. Not only does it create space from Ilia's hips, but it also brings the left hand of Charles from the legs of Ilia, and it brings that left hand into an upper body position. Bringing this hand up is going to allow Ilia to secure a whizzer with his right arm as he maintains the crossface. So Charles still has contact with his right hand on Ilia's legs, and so what Ilia is going to look to do is step back with his left leg, and what this does is it makes it so that way Charles's right hand now loses the grip that it once had. Key thing to note is that the position that they end up in here is actually pretty dangerous for Ilia. Charles is going to look to secure a body lock behind the back of Ilia, and what this will allow him to do is return Ilia to the mat. Another situation that could happen from this position is that Charles could wind up shrugging Ilia's whizzer by and end up taking his back. So we know that Ilia has to adjust his position, so what he winds up doing is he squares back up with Charles and starts sagging his hips down to the mat, and this is just going to make it a lot easier for Ilia to defend the double underhooks that Charles has. Now Charles continues with his momentum and he runs Ilia into the cage. As soon as he does so, we see that he tries to close the distance or any space with his hips and also with his upper body. He gets real tight with his shoulders here, tries to remain chest to chest. Now we see that he's trying to stand Ilia straight up, and this is just going to make it a lot easier for him to finish his takedowns. Something really cool that Ilia does here is that he uses his overhook and establishes a frame on the lower belly of Charles, and this allows him to push away with the back of his hand and create space by their hips. Now Charles, feeling that the weight is shifting around, he's going to look to hit an outside trip here on Ilia, and Ilia winds up defending it pretty nice. Immediately following the outside trip attempt, Charles is going to look to drag Ilia down to his right, and Ilia does a good job of maintaining the whizzer, applying pressure into Charles, and he also bases out his left leg, which allows him to have good balance and remain standing. Now I thought this sequence was pretty cool. Along the fence here, we're going to see Charles is going to try to step in the middle to split Ilia's weight in half. Now we see that as he's trying to jockey for position here, Ilia does a great job at following him with his leg, and he just continues to use his leg as a frame into Charles. And that was just really good defense from Ilia. Great mind-body connection to his lower half. Charles is going to try to adjust by establishing some head position and straightening Ilia back up. Now another thing that works good for Ilia here in this situation is that he uses these strikes to create motion from Charles. Immediately he goes to his frames, and then he pummels his head back on the other side. Now what this does is it creates a space right here by Charles's right elbow, and we see Ilia attempt to pummel his left hand into that space. So we see Charles start adjusting his position. He digs his right shoulder into that gap where Ilia was trying to pummel. Now championship mindset from Ilia, he's going to look to fight for his position here. He's not okay with the position that he's in, and he is going to fight and work to get that underhook. And we're going to see him wedge his arm all the way through and get to a strong underhook position. Charles, now feeling as though he's losing the position that he has, feels as though he has to act in the moment, and he pulls Ilia off of the cage. And as he bites down on this over underhook position, he's also going to try to look to step around the outside of Ilia's right leg and trip him down to the mat. But the body lock now is no longer as effective as it once was because Ilia has the underhook. Look at the rotation that Ilia acquires here in this position. Now we also see that as they hit the mat, first thing that Ilia is going to look to do is to establish a post. Another thing that he does really well when he hits the mat is that he switches his hips right away. This allows him to correct his balance and stay on top. You're going to see Ilia here post his hand on the mat and then look to bring his elbow down to his hip and get his arm back on the inside. Now to assist this, what he does is he posts his left foot as well. Now Charles still has an underhook on Ilia's right arm, and what he's gonna look to do is actually hit Ilia with a straight arm lock. Now Ilia, being super aware of what's going on and the positions, is gonna get his right elbow down to the hip of Charles, and this completely negates the offense that Charles attempted to throw up from this position. Now, as we seen in the last video, when we're on top, we're gonna look to get our arms back inside and start building height so we can land damage or potentially pass guard. And Ilia does just this. We see him get his hands back inside. He starts posturing up. He's gonna post on the chest of Charles here, and as he posts and posture, it actually breaks open the guard of Charles. And just watch the sequence. He's just gonna posture up and pass the knee right through. First thing he's gonna do after he passes is look to secure knee on belly. What this knee on belly will do is keep Charles from being able to shrimp and recover his guard effectively. Now, what Charles does, he tries to swim his arm underneath of Ilia, potentially to hit a ghost escape or maybe to even attack a darce. Ilia is gonna look to get chest to chest and start putting weight on Charles. In this position here, you see Charles, and this is why I believe that he was actually going for a darce attempt, because he tries to put his left hand on the left side of Ilia's head, and I believe that he was trying to connect his hands, but once he realized that the darce wasn't there anymore, he goes back to trying to recover his guard. As he tries to recover his guard the other way, Ilia winds up hip shifting his weight down, and it traps the right arm of Charles underneath the body of Ilia, and he winds up in a really dangerous situation here because Ilia also has the left hand of Charles trapped with his head. So essentially, Charles has no way to defend his face from this position, but Ilia is not really too worried about striking. He's looking to improve his position. And so what he does here is the moment that Charles pulls his arm through, Ilia baits it and traps him in a crucifix. So what Charles is going to look to do, he has no way to defend his face, so he has to create an off balance, and we're going to see Charles step over the leg of Ilia and collect it with his right leg. We see that Charles's left foot is free and his right leg is actually weaved around the right leg of Ilia. Now what this does is it allowed him to bring Ilia's hips a little bit up into the air. If a man is really tight and his hips are low to the ground, you're gonna have a tough time creating motion. And so Charles actually does the right thing here by stepping over the leg of Ilia and raising him with his legs into the air. Now from here, what Charles does is he shifts his weight down to his left, and this forces Ilia to have to post his hand on the mat. And we see as Ilia is forced to post his hand, Charles is gonna use the opportunity to free his left hand. He uses his left hand to frame into Ilia, and it allows Charles to attack the legs of Ilia without pressure coming back into him. Now we see him throw his right leg over, and then from here, Ilia is gonna look to back away for a moment. And Charles, we're gonna see Charles actually lace up a triangle. And what this does is it puts a lot of pressure on the knee of Ilia and starts what we call in jiu-jitsu, he's reaping his knee. Could be dangerous, but Ilia's in shape, he's an athlete. And so we're gonna see Ilia break the triangle that Charles had. Something really nice that Charles does is he brings his leg back towards the camera, and this forces Ilia to lose the grip that he had on Charles's leg, and it allows Charles now to swim his left foot behind the right leg of Ilia and put him down to his hip. One thing I noticed that Charles does in this sequence is he never loses contact with the legs of Ilia. We see the grip that he has with his left hand. He never loses this connection before he moves on to the next connection that he's looking to make. You don't climb a ladder by letting go with both hands. One grip replaces the other, and you do that until you work your way up. And we see Charles doing the same thing here. He just slowly climbs up Ilia without trying to give up control. In the chase for Ilia's hip, Ilia seizes the opportunity and is able to get his hip away from the hand of Charles. Now he clears his knee line, but Charles is going to look to stay on the prowl, and he winds up re-securing a triangle here with his leg, and he re-weaves his left leg under the right leg of Ilia and is able to put him back down for a moment. And you just see the contact that Charles has in this position. He has a grip on the arm of Ilia, his leg is connected to him, Ilia's left leg is trapped, and it makes it really difficult for Ilia to escape the position. Now Ilia is going to put some pressure back into Charles, and so what he does is he winds up pointing his left foot into Charles, and he straightens out his leg here. As he does this, he's also going to look to move his right leg towards his right and away from that hook that Charles has on his leg. Now my man is in perfect position to land a heavy bomb. and he does so. After this punch, he's going to look to get heavy on the butterfly hook of Charles and also get low so that way Charles cannot elevate him. Now what Charles does here to recover his guard, since he's in a pretty bad position, he's going to take a whizzer. He's going to post out on his toes with his right leg, then slide his knee across so he can square back up with Ilia. Ilia, recognizing the danger and also not really wanting to play around with the guard anymore, decides to frame away and stand right back up on the feet. Now for some takeaways. First, for Charles Oliveira, throughout these exchanges in the fight, we've seen that once he gets in on an entry, he does not waste time to advance his position, and this could be off of his takedown attempts, his submission attempts, or even possible sweep attempts. Charles will also actively look to close any space in order to prevent his opponent from regaining the inside position, and he does this in a few different ways throughout the fight. One way in particular that he uses is his shoulder pressure while in the clinch, and he does this in order to prevent Ilia from repummeling his arms back to the inside. Another thing that Charles does really well is that he will utilize his leg entries and leg attacks as sweep opportunities, and he will even attempt his sweep opportunities from the legs to climb and take his opponent's back. On top of this, anytime that Charles is looking to advance his position, he always does so while maintaining the controls that he has. Now, some good things that I've seen Ilia Topuria do in this fight is anytime he's on the outside, he fights to regain his inside position. This allows him to have better control in order to defend himself from submission attempts and sweeps. Now, when on top, Ilia Topuria will prioritize advancing his position and maintaining his control before he lands strikes. And I think this is really important for MMA because we see a lot of guys look to land heavy strikes, and in the process of them doing so, they wind up losing the position entirely. Another thing Ilia does really good is that he utilizes his hip shifts to maintain his top position and also to minimize any space given to his opponent on bottom. Now, last but not least, Ilia does a tremendous job at knowing when to abandon ship, and what this means is that when he no longer wants to engage, or if he's liable to be put in danger, he will completely abandon the position and look to restart back on the feet. And that's going to be a wrap for this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, go ahead and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought of this fight. Let me know what you guys thought of this breakdown. Go ahead and click that subscribe button, like the video, and we'll have more content on the way. But as for now, I'll see you guys on the next one.